Hello and welcome to Mastering Power BI video series. This is video number 3. In this video, we are going to see how to create a column charts and bar charts in Power BI desktop and how do you customize every element of the chart. Where do you go for those customizations and what are the features included in the latest versions of the Power BI desktop which simplifies these kind of work. Without much ado, let's get into the Power BI desktop. Let's load the dataset and create the visualization and check out the customizations. Okay, so we have opened the Power BI application and I'm going to start from the blank report. So I'm going to click on the blank report. We are in the blank report. And the first step, we need to load the data. In order to load the data, I'm going to the Home tab in the Data group. Get data, download arrow, and the data set which I want to connect to is an Excel workbook. Let's go ahead and click on it, and it is asking me which file. This is the file I want to connect to. Let's choose it and click open. Now it's going to take me to this particular window where it's a similar window which usually see in the Power Query when you connect to the data source, the same navigator window. So it's asking, hey, the Excel file which you're connected to contains the sheet. Would you like to take the data from the sheet? Yes. So I'm going to click on the sheet one, and you could see that it's not a proper table data. It's a comma separated values which are available inside the sheet. So I need to perform certain transformation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going ahead and selecting this checkbox. Only then these options will become active. So I'm going to go ahead and say transform data, not load, because if I simply say load, this data is going to get loaded as it is to the Power BI desktop. And then I have to go to the Power Query editor in order to do the transformations further, which I don't want to do that. But if you want to know how do we do that, if you have accidentally clicked on the load, so let's say, let me go ahead and do that. So when I click on load, what happens is you can see the data is getting loaded to the Power BI desktop, and here is my data which got loaded. If you, in case if you don't see this data pane, you can always activate by going to the view tab under the show panes. You can click on the data and that's going to bring up the data pane. So but we know that it's not containing the columns because it's not a perfect table. You have to do the transformation. So how do you launch the Power Query editor in order to do the transformation from the Power BI desktop? You need to go to the Home tab and you have to go to the Transform Data and click on Transform Data. And that's going to bring up the Power Query editor window. Once you have come to the Power Query editor window, there are a couple of things you can do here. If you see something like this on the top, that means you have connected to this data set earlier, so it's showing you that kind of message. You can simply ignore it, or if you feel that there are a couple of changes has been done on this data set, you want to take even those, you can click on refresh. Okay, now the first thing I will recommend is always change the name of the query, because this will help you to identify which is the data set instead of having a generic sheet one or file one or something like that. So I'm going to double click on this sheet one. I'm going to rename this to sales data. Okay, so that's the renaming I've done. Now rest is all the transformation what we have to do in the Power Query. So I go to the right side to the applied steps area, and I'm going to get rid of the change type because I don't want the change type to take impact right now. So I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to start the transformations right now. So the first transformation, I want to split this column by comma. So I'm going to go to the Home tab under the Transform group. I go to the split column by delimiter. And the delimiter in this case is comma, which is automatically identified by the Power Query editor. All I have to just agree to it by clicking OK. Then come to the applied steps again. I'm going to get rid of change type because I don't want the data type setting to happen right now because we do not have the headers in the right place. So I'm going to get rid of it and come back to the Home tab. And the next transformation I'm going to do is use the first row as header, because the first row is the actually header. So once I click, now my first row has turned into headers, and the data types are also set. In case if you want to change any specific data type, you can click on the respective the numbers or the ABCs what you see on the left hand side corner. You can change to any particular data type which you want to change it to. Now once everything is set, once your data is perfect, all you have to do is get this data to the Power BI desktop. So how do I do that? Come back to the home tab. We're going to go to the close and apply category, and we're going to say close and apply. So once you do that, the data is going to come into the Power BI desktop. At this time, if you check in the data pane, it's coming up with the name we have changed in the Power Query editor. Once I got it, when I click this arrow, when I expand it, now I get the access to all the respective columns, and the data types are properly set. That's the reason I'm able to see the sigma symbol in the numerical columns. So for quantity and for the total sales, for the unit price, you can see the sigma symbols. But for the sale ID, I don't need this sigma symbol. The sigma stands for the summarization, so this is a column to be added, but I don't want this to be added. So anyway, for this visualization, we are not going to bring in this particular column, but in the future videos, when we are going to handle the calculations using the DAX, I will let you know how do you take care of these things. Okay, so now we need to create our first visualization, which is going to show us customer type wise what is the total sales we have made. So I want to create a clustered column chart. I can use the visualizations available under the build pane, so which you can activate again by going to the view, then under the panes you can click on the build, or you can also access from the tab by going to the home tab. Under the insert group, you can create the visuals from here, or you can go to the insert tab and you can pick the visuals from here. So you have 3 different places you can get it. So I'm going to get it from the build section. So first thing, I'm going to go ahead and click on this canvas, this white surface where you're going to get your visualizations. If you look at the bottom left corner, it says page 1. So it's like pages of the document or sheets in the Excel, but in Power BI desktop, it's the page 1 of your canvas. Canvas is nothing but the surface where you're going to get your visuals to be created. So the visual I want to create is a clustered column chart. I'm going to go in. When you keep the mouse over those visuals, it tells you exactly what's the type of the chart you're looking at. So I'm going to click on it, and it's going to get picked up here. Now I have to bring in the respective fields for this visual. So all I have to do is go to my data pane and activate the ones which you wanted. The best thing, it automatically shifts the positions, or puts the field in the right places. So when I activate the total sales, it understands it has to go to the y-axis area. So you can see here it automatically moved to the y-axis category of the build pane because it's a number. Now customer type is a categorical value, non-numerical value. Automatically that gets moved to the x-axis. Now on the left side, my visualization is ready. Now all I have to do right now is do the customizations. Now when I say customizations, every component of the chart can be modified. Since this is the first video on the visualization, I'm going to take you through the places, but as we move forward to other chart types, we will be moving a little bit quick on these areas. So look at it. For example, if I'm not happy about this title, I want to change it. Just click on the chart, look at the right side. You might have to activate something called format pane. You need to go to the view tab. In the view tab under the panes, you need to make sure the format is activated. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this format pane so that the format pane comes up. Now here in the format pane, you can decide which component of the chart you want to format. You can accordingly work on it. So the first one I want to work is on the title. So I come to the format pane. So let's minimize this filter, or I can turn off the filter, turn off the data pane, turn off the build, because we need only the format. So it becomes quite easier for you to work when you just have these. Okay, so I go to the format pane because I want to work on the title section. I click and expand the title section. It shows the current title, so I can click inside and I can say customer type wise units sold. So that's my title. So if you look at on the right side, it got changed. Now with regard to that, remember when you click away from the chart, you don't see them anymore. When you click away, all these are related to the canvas settings. Okay, what's your background, you want to keep it, all those you can do with related to the canvas area. Whenever you want to work on the visual, click on the visual so that you see only the options related to the visual. So now we are working on the title. So we have edited the title. You can change the font, you can change the styles, heading styles. You can work on the alignment. Let's say I want to have it on the center, so it got aligned to the center. And then I want to what else I want to do. This is perfectly fine. So with respect to the text color, I can click here and I can say, why don't you give it to me in the blue shade, and the background I would require is a lighter gray. And look at the title right now, we got it in the way we want it. So now the next thing I want to do is, likewise, I can work on the x-axis title, the y-axis title. So again, to go to the respective component of the chart, I select the chart, I come to the title side, and if I scroll down here, I have the x-axis and y-axis category. So let me minimize this title section, which I don't need it anymore. I now move to the x-axis title section. I go here, x-axis, and I want to work on the title section of the x-axis, and here it is showing me this is the title, you have it. Would you like to have it or not? If you do not want to have a title, then you can literally turn off. If you want to have your own text, you can type the text. So all those are available again here. Okay, so now let's say here in this case, it's not going to make sense having the title because it's quite obvious when I said customer type wise unit sold. So these two titles are not going to make sense anymore, or I would say that it's not adding any value to the process. So I'm going to go ahead and I can even deactivate it, but for the sake of understanding, I'm just going to keep it. But if you take the best practices of the visualization, it's not necessary anymore. Probably I can get rid of the y-axis title. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and work on the y-axis side. I'm going to say, hey, I don't want the title over there. Can you turn it off? At the same time, because I'm going to get the data labels on the top of it, the values of the y-axis scale is also not required. So I'm going to just turn it off so I don't see them. Okay, and you can even edit the minimum and maximum in case you want to work on that scales as well. So all these are pretty self-explanatory when you get into that. And now next one I want to work is on the data labels. At first I want to turn it on, and it gets turned on, you can see here, and it's right now displaying in terms of millions. How do I change that millions to thousands? And how do I change the positions? All those are available under the data labels section. When we expand it, you go to the section of the data label. Here you can see the orientations. So when I say vertical, it turns into like this. If you want to have it horizontal, you can change it. So all those are available over here. So let me zoom it out here. So again, with regard to the values, when I click here, and it shows all those with respect to the values, and this is where the display units comes into play. So let's say, for example, I want to show that in terms of thousands, and I want to have some decimals, 2 decimals. Now look at that on the top, it shows me in thousands. So that's where you change it under the values, under the display units. And then further, anything which you want to do, you can actually work on it. And let's talk about the positions. See the label positions. So let's say it's already keeping it in outside end. Suppose let's say I want to keep it inside end, it's going to come in like this. So you can change the position. So these are a couple of things you do it on Excel charts, and pretty easily, but here you need to get into each section and keep working on them. But here you have a lot of options to customize every component of your chart. Okay, so what something you can observe here in common is I need to keep going to every section and then keep working on of the chart, but is it possible that when I click on it, it will give me the option to edit that particular element? For example, I want to change the font color here. So literally I have to go to the right side and I have to expand the x-axis. I have to go to the value section. I have to change the color. That's how I have to keep doing it. Is there an easier way to work on these kind of formatting action? The answer is absolutely yes. So all you have to do is just double click on the border of your chart. You would see a blue line, and then when you see the blue line, the best part, I want you to observe what's going to happen right now. Okay, I just clicked away from the chart and then coming back and double clicking on the chart. Now you get the blue line. Now the beautiful part is when you click on the particular element which you want to edit, right hand side automatically takes you to the respective menu system related to that component of your chart, and now you can change it to any particular things or whatever you would love to have. All those you can do, and that's going to take the impact. So likewise, I can select the x-axis title and I can work on this. So all those are 100% easy to work inside. So let's say I'm going to select, again double click and select the data label. Now I would be inside the data label. Yeah, so what makes this magic to work? It's going to happen only when you have a particular option activated in your Power BI settings. Which is that option? You need to go to the file menu, you need to go to the options and settings, you need to go to options. In the options screen, you need to make sure you are in the global. In the global, you have to go to the preview features, in which you need to activate the one which says on object interaction. So let me highlight and show that this is the one I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the one which you, once you activate and click OK, you might have to close the Power BI desktop application and then you have to reopen it so that it takes the impact automatically. Remember, the preview feature is nothing but as and when a new update comes in the Power BI desktop, it's gonna be having a checkbox like this which you can activate in order to make use of that. So you don't have to run updates, you don't have to run patches. It's gonna take it automatically when you just activate it. Yeah, so that's how it's going to happen. So now once you activate and click OK, and you will be able to work on that thing which I did right now, which is just double clicking and selecting every component of the chart to edit the components of the chart. Last but not the least, with respect to the clustered column, there are interesting thing which you can do on this visualization is something which I want to show you. Some of the people would love to have a kind of a baseline on their charts, a target line on their chart. So when you want to create such a line, how do you do that in Power BI? So let's check it out. So if you see, I'm going to come out of the visualization and click on it normally so that I could see every element of the visualization. So if you see here, there is one of the area called reference line. If you could see here, reference line. So this reference line is the one which you have to use when you want to create a baseline on your charts. So I'm going to click and expand this, and here it will ask you to add a line. So I'm going to click on add line, and here you can see type of line, whether you would love to have a line for the average, you want to have it for median, you want to have it for max or min. You can have multiple lines, or you can even create your own target lines by going to the y-axis constant line. So I'm going to go for this, and I'm going to say, hey, can you get me the line at let's say 1 lakh. So when I click here, you could see the line comes up here. So let's say I would love to have it not on 1 lakh. So let me increase the value to 10 lakh, and then let's check out. So here you could see that it created a baseline for me. So this line color again, I can modify it when I get into this area and then put it into a different color. All those are possible, and the style in which I want to have it, all those are available to customize it, increase the thickness. All those are perfectly available for me, and that's something which you can do it in the bar charts or column charts. Okay, now likewise you can have multiple baselines on your chart in case if you want to present it. This is the maximum level of settings you have it, but yes, there are a few more like error bars and other things we will talk about as and when the context comes in. Now I'm going to talk about how do you create a stacked column chart. Okay, so let's talk about stacked column chart. Now this chart is ready. I'm going to create one more visualization. So I'm going to click outside the visualization. So I'm clicking an empty area in the canvas. I go to my data pane. So I need to access my data pane right now. I don't have my data pane here. I can click on this plus sign and activate my data pane. And I got my data pane here. So I click and get my data pane. So let's maximize this. Here we have the data pane. So I need to get my build so that I can access my visualization. So I'm going to activate that one as well and get it back. Okay, so we got the build. So now stacked column chart. So I'm going to look for that stacked column chart. I have 100% stacked. I have stacked column chart. So here's our stacked column chart. And what are the columns I want to take it? Let's do this way. So I want to have the country in the x-axis. I can drag and drop it here, and I want to have my units sold in the y-axis, and I want to have the customer type in the legend. So if you could see here, that's my stacked column chart. Again, in order to work on every element, every component of the chart, remember on object interaction will help you. How? When you double click on the border of the chart, you're ready to work on it. Look at on the right side, I want to edit the title. When I click, look at the right side, I'm ready to work on the title right now. So we can say instead of this, units sold by country and customer types. I don't want this underscore. So that's perfectly fine. So again, the colors I can choose according to my need, and so likewise I can have everything. So I want to activate my data labels. So let's turn on the data labels, and in case if I want to do anything on the data labels, I can do it. All those are available for me to work. All right, so likewise you can create the bar charts, and you can do the same thing like what I'm doing currently right now. But the question is when to create the bar charts. So I want to click away, when to create the bar charts and when to go for column charts. So a simple understanding which you have to keep in mind is the x-axis labels. See, in this case, retail, wholesale, OEM, fleet. Okay, here also you see the country names. But when your x-axis label text is a little bit longer, like 3-4 words together, then in those cases putting them in the column chart makes it quite difficult to accommodate in your visual. Those are the times where you can think about putting it into a bar chart, because here you have enough space to accommodate your categorical labels even in 2 lines or 3 lines comfortably for the visual of the audience. So that's the big difference where you can think about creating such bar charts, else you don't have to go for it. And last but not the least, remember, bar charts or column charts are something which you have to think about when you want to compare the categories and present. Yeah, don't create the bar charts or the column charts when you're presenting the trend. That is something which you have to do it on the line charts, all right, which we will be talking about in the coming up videos. All right, we have come to the end of this video where I've shown you how do you connect to a data source, how do you go to the Power Query editor, do the transformation, how do you bring it back to Power BI desktop, and how do you create the visuals, where do you go for customization, how do you make your customizations easier by activating the on object interaction option activated under the previews of your options. All right, so in the next video we'll talk about next visualization in the Power BI desktop with a different data set and with a different requirement. All right, so until then, take care of yourself. Signing off, Hariharan.